Could you state your full name and your present Muncie address and how long you've been in Muncie?
Olivia Motley, 1007 East Main Street. I was born here July 16, 1926.
July 16, 1926. And when did your parents come to Muncie?
My dad came to Muncie as a boy from Kentucky and visited a lot of his relatives that were here that had come to Indiana before he did. And to my knowledge, my dad was here in the early 1900s.
In the early 1900s? And what did he do?
Well, he was just a teenager at that time. Mm-hmm. And he stayed with his cousin Sam Wheeler, I believe the name was. Mm-hmm. But you know, Sam Wheeler passed, this is a man's son, he passed last year. So he was an old Muncie, I think.
Who was Sam Wheeler and what did he do?
Well, he was a jack of all trades. He went from a grocery store to an undertaker at one time. He was involved clear across all kind of business.
So was he a legitimate undertaker?
Well, to my knowledge, he had his sign out, so I guess that's about as legitimate as you can get.
What was his name?
Sam Wheeler.
Sam Wheeler. And where did he have his...
well, it was over there in the vicinity where his store is. It was there on right below Longfellow School, on Penn Street. Much as I can remember.
New Longfellow, the old Longfellow.
Old Longfellow. It's a block from the highway. Mm-hmm. McCullough Park.
Did you have many patients?
Well, see, this was before my time. This is this hearsay that I heard passed down from the folks.
Passed down from the folks.
But my mother and dad came back to Muncie to live in 1924. He came back here as well, they've been, well, I was the seventh child, so they had 5 children in Kentucky. He went back, he was about 20, I think it was. And they got married, and he came back to Muncie after things broke, you know, how traveling is. But he told us later why he crossed the Ohio River was that he was running from the ministry. And he thought that changing locations would help.
He was a minister?
Yes, and he pastored Antioch Baptist to his death in 43.
Where's that located?
That's at the corner of Butler and Macedonia, 1700.
Out in Whiteley.
Yes.
What was Muncie like when you recall when you were a little girl, and you know, what was your general impressions of Muncie in terms?
Well, there was a sidewalk most of the way down Highland Avenue. There was Parrott's grocery store, which is a block from where it is now. William Parrott. It says the son, because he's deceased, but it was his parents. And we used to go down there for odds and ends.
Were there a lot of black businessmen, like grocery stores, back then?
Well, as much as I can remember, there was Parrott's store, and then there was John Patterson and Richard Taylor's funeral parlor. Of course, it was in Johnson funeral parlor.
It was Richard Taylor's funeral parlor, and then Johnson's funeral
parlor?
No,
it was Johnson's first.
Johnson's first. What was his name, first name?
J.E., I think. It was there in the same block that it was 1414 Highland Avenue. As a girl, I remember going back in that purple, dark room as a youngster. It was nothing like the beautiful, bright lights of what you're wearing now.
Well, you recall what he was like?
Now, I don't remember Johnson. I think I'd seen pictures of him. But as far as actually saying I knew him, I can't recall. But
what kind of life did some of the undertakers live? I mean, undertakers, black doctors back then, what about that?
Well, the doctor, one passed last year, William Braden. I knew him as a kid, Dr. Braden.
How was he, and how was his life, social life in that?
Well, they said he was one of the best baby doctors there was. And cold specialist, he said he was the best. But and my doctor was named Buffet. I never knew him after I grew older. I think he left Muncie. And then I knew Dr. J.C. Davis. He passed the last 5 or 7 years.
What were they like?
Well, Dr. Davis was a big Jovial type person. Him and my dad seemed like great buddies. They were both large men, and they seemed to have such a great fellowship and friendship. For him being a minister and a doctor, there's something about people of that nature.
Did they participate in social events, and were they, or did they have an upper class air of black doctors back then? How would you compare them to the doctors now?
Well, it seemed like then it was just home and church and the sick room, basically. You never heard of any social activities, not as far as Muncie was concerned, because all I can remember of the social business was what you call these beer taverns and joints like that, as far as I can remember.
And they didn't participate in any of that?
Nothing I ever heard of.
Did they participate in white activities? Were they more open to go there?
Well, this is something that, as a kid, you went to school and you came back home, you didn't ask your parents questions. They'd have their family conference. You were asleep. You didn't hear anything like it is nowadays. You just talk right out with your children. This was all something different. Even when we had Sunday guests. Wow.
What do you contribute to that reason for change in black families and talking more out to the kids more openly?
Well, it's just a new day. And
why
kids
is
now...
Why is it a new day, though?
Well, kids read for themselves and they ask you questions where we would think some things, but we would never think to ask our parents because you just sit there and didn't say anything that you're spoken to.
Well, what transition period? Was there certain little things along the line that made kids, you didn't all of a sudden have a kid and all of a sudden here's a kid and he's going to ask a question. I mean, did something else lead to that?
It's a whole new generation. It's these my parents' grandchildren. So that's completely new generation, new set of mother and dad. That's all I can say.
What about where did you go to school and where were the schools located?
Well, Longfellow School, right there now, across from McCullough Park. That's where I went.
Was it all black then?
No. I would say at least half and half. Every bit of it.
And how recently did it move to be all black?
Well, I would say it's the last 15 years, maybe. 10 to 15 years, basically, since I've married.
Do you think, or from past readings on the structure of school boards and zoning, do you think that was set up along racial lines strictly?
Well, it's one of those things that you would like to not think that it was done that way, because I've worked on election boards back 20 years ago, and if I remember correctly, I was in the district then of East 6th Street, and we went out to Garfield School, and then when we moved from there, I was in the precinct of the old fire station on Willard. We lived across Willard Street there, and was another district. And I remember one time when we moved on Willard, which was in 54, I worked on the polls, and we had this ballot separate from the machine. And we'd asked them to vote for the school board. I have no children, and I'm not interested. Well, that's not the point. Get some of our people on. And, well, my children are all grown. And, of course, it was a new thing for a Negro to be put anywhere near the ticket. And it was discouraging to me because being of a new generation. And education has always been a great interest with me. But you try to say something under your breath there inside the voting room, which you weren't supposed to do, but trying to help your own side, this is done. And I believe then Van Scott and the new doctor we had in town, his wife, I believe.
Who was Van Scott?
Van Scott is now a principal in Fort Wayne, I believe it is. I think he has his PhD now. And he can make a Ball State to, I think, his last step in education.
How did whites look at 20 years ago, or as far as you can remember, the blacks organizing to better themselves politically? I mean, were there much black political power? Was there any banding together to gain more?
Well, basically, those who were involved with politics, it was kind of what we would say a sellout deal. I'd hear them talk that, oh, they sold him out with a hamburger and a bottle of beer. There'd be somebody working for the guy on the other ticket. But as far as they were really themselves in a ticket, you didn't have too much. Well, there was Carl Burnham, that's senior. I remember his name being involved.
Carl Burnham Sr.?
Yes.
And what did he run for?
Precinct commitment, I believe it was.
How long ago was this?
Well, this is when I was, I'd say the 40s.
1940s.
In the 40s.
Son run for?
Just last year.
Arthur Burnham?
This is his son.
What do you remember? Councilman?
Something of that nature. But his family and his aunt, Mary Ferguson, they were always involved somehow or another in politics. And see some of the other names that.
What about blacks reception? Okay, tell me about this next.
Well, now they would work in 2 or 3 poll systems. That there was Whiteley, and then there was where the old fire station on Willard Street was at. Well, it was just about practically the only 2 precincts that Negroes even lived in. Period. And so naturally, it would only be people from those particular areas that would be involved.
Other areas, of course, segregated.
Oh yes.
Blacks couldn't move.
No.
What about blacks' reception to a black candidate? Did they really think this black candidate was serious, or did they look upon him as being a contender who could, contend with whites, or did they look at it as such sort of a joke and it didn't matter whoever's in there, they'll all be the same?
Some parts that I can remember, I know one time my dad was, I guess it was a sheriff. That was back in WPA days. And, of course, Dad was the type of person that, he was jovial, he was playful, but he was also a very serious type person. And, of course, it had always been stated that church and politics don't work hand in hand. And, of course, nowadays they're looking at politics different, that if you're right and you should have some religion in your politics, this cleans it up. Of course, probably a religious man is a perfect man. Far from it. I wouldn't think of saying that. But if there is some sugar involved in your mixture, it will sweeten and soften things. And this is why religion should be involved. And if we had more people with clean thinking, you wouldn't have all this undercurrent business. So he was sheriff that time. There was quite a bit of saying that he moved the mayor's picture. I forget which mayor it was. I think it was Bunch, Ron Bunch, was running that year. So anyhow, he's supposed to, I think Dad lost his job or something. But it was a lot of guys were paid off, to watch every little curly Q, I guess you would say. Anything wrong, there's always so much drinking around the polls. This is one thing that.
And your dad, he had what kind of job now?
He was a man outside there. I think it was sheriff. I think it's like.
The sheriff? The what?
The guy outside of the polls.
Outside the polls.
On voting day. I think he let you through the line or something. He was one of those guys out there. He was on a Republican ticket. See, the Democrat ticket was one of the guys that brought the spoken word against him.
Were you a Republican and your parents were Republicans back then? Are you still a Republican?
I split my ticket.
You split your ticket. Did they split their ticket?
I never knew of them splitting their ticket.
They voted strict Republican?
Straight ticket.
How did they take to Democrats? Why did they say they voted Republican?
Well, let me see. It's a long story, and of course, when he was from Kentucky, and then his folks were from Virginia. So naturally, there's a southern background, and this stems from a lot of hand-me-down talk, which they say now wasn't all true, according to Abe Lincoln. And a lot of these things are being brought out now, and well, you just would speak of what your parents had handed down to you, and this is the way to go, and you don't think no other way. So This was it.
When did Black political consciousness develop? You know, where they could look at people and issues, in your opinion, or when did you develop this?
Well, I've always had white neighbors, both kind. One kind was so bitter that I guess my sister would go to her grave with a dog bite on her leg. So I've been involved with the good and the not so good, right in the same neighborhood, right in the same block. And this is always going to be true. Anytime you see a vicious dog, your mind runs back to this particular dog that bit my sister. There's always been a mixture and always will be. You always hope that the better side will win out. But it's just one of those things.
What about the criminal element? Have blacks been getting a fair shake in criminal courts? Can you recall anything?
I've never had foot inside of a court, but from the talks and such alike that I have read in the paper and heard discussed, there's always been innocent that have paid the price for the guilty. And there always has been, it seems like there always will be. If they're out to get a certain person, they'll get him, and regardless, of course, you try to say that everybody doesn't look alike. It's a thing has been said for years, and they're beginning to believe that each person is an individual. Even some brothers and sisters don't look alike enough to classify them as true brothers and sisters, but they actually are. And this is one thing that will help by taking the individual as an individual and not as a race or looking down his family tree or anything like that, because there seems to be skeletons in all closets that has fully dressed clothes on. And of course, sometimes you don't want to open that closet door because of these particular skeletons.
In dealing with that, and if blacks are able to change and begin to try to accept whites for who they are, why is it so difficult for these white people, these second, third, fourth generations, not to drop the yoke of what they've been taught?
Well,
maybe in your Muncie circumstances, situation.
With the Negro family background, if they trace it, there is so much white blood involved that you don't know when you're stepping on your own brother's toe. And this is what has made so many Negroes bitter, because their blood has been mixed for years and years and years. And now...
but yet nobody wanted more willing to accept them.
Yes. Oh, you've got the same name as I am. Well, we were brothers, you know, lost brothers. When we got separated in the flood. Well, these lot of separations have come about because of this. So there you go. You say when you live in the north and live in the south of war, who knows if you're not fighting your own brother across the line? And this is true, because it has happened.
What about a group we are familiar with, Klan? You remember any incidences of where they lived?
I heard my folks talk about them rioting, and it mentioned particular Indiana. I can't remember. If I had a chance to talk to my sister, maybe she could tell me more. But vaguely, I remember that there was a particular corner here in the town that was supposed to be the headquarters. And
where was this located?
A rock throw distance from here, you would say.
Let's see. And, this is what, 101?
1007.
1007.
East Main.
East Main. So, like, what would that be?
It would be northwest of here, in that area.
About couple blocks?
Yes. This is what I had been told as a child.
What kind of things did they do?
This is all Greek to me. Closed door.
Were you just aware that they were there? Did they ever show themselves visibly?
I never knew of it.
Your parents ever talk about them?
No, they. I guess that was one of those hush-hush conversations among them.
Kind of an idea that, this is not to be discussed because
they scare the children.
What about newspapers or the media? Have they been fair? Has any blacks employed at newspapers that you know of?
Well, the only one I've ever known, I guess, throughout the history of the paper has been Georgia Lucas and Goins. Not Goins. She wasn't Goins. Her name is Mabel Peel. I've only known those two as to carry the Negro News, as long as I can remember.
That was black news.
Yes.
But it's not on the Muncie Star.
One was for Star, Peel was for Star, and Lucas was for Press. As long as I can remember.
How long ago is this now? They still with us?
I think Peel is out because of illness. I've never heard in the last couple of years. I think she has more or less doing nothing with this. She's up in age. Of course, Miss Lucas is in the hospital at this very moment. And I was reading on the front page tonight to call in your news to a certain number at Press. And they're taking care of her. Georgie Lucas. Georgia Peck Lucas.
What kind of particular news this year?
Well, it usually holds your church news and vacation people and things of this nature. Sometimes you'll hear of a death notice of being involved through this particular medium. And future events of teas and sometimes with clubs that are having something. And basically it was just mostly church news because other clubs and you have your lodge news do that sometimes. There was a Negro paper here by a minister, B.F. Adams. I believe it was called the Indiana Herald. Of course, he's deceased now.
B.F. Adams.
B.F. Adams. Some of his sons are still living here. In fact, his daughter is a journalist in Chicago or something.
How long does that paper last? Indiana Herald?
Oh, it was up and down.
Is that the correct name, Indiana Herald?
I believe it was Indiana Herald.
When did it start and when did it end?
Well, now, my father passed in 43, so it's been somewhere between 36 and 40.
36 and 40, last about 40.
Maybe up to the 43rd year. Because I believe my dad's picture was in it that last year. We had a contest between the ministers and singing contest. I think it was. My dad was one of the winners.
What about blacks? Like you were here when as early as 1924.
My dad was.
And let's see.
I was born in 26.
26. So do you remember anything about the Depression or how it affected blacks here in Muncie? What kind of deal they got?
Well, my dad being a farmer, we had a garden, and I grew up with corn here and beans there, so I grew up in the garden. And we had plenty ourselves because we raised ours, our own chickens and such like.
But the majority of blacks.
Well, they had their own patches out in their yards, but we had I don't know how much land we used. He would rent out in the edge of the town. One place was out by Keener's. Another place was up by War Mill in Indiana Steel on East Jackson. I remember as a little kid pulling a wagon and going to get water to water the garden. But he would often talk about was the bread line they had. But by raising our own food and Mom canning, we had our own fruit trees. And so we canned fruit and made jelly. And grapes, I can't look them in the face now because of taking the seeds out and make grape butter. And there was nothing wasted at our place because there were several mouths to feed. And Mom was canning from way back. The minute things started getting any size to them, he pulled out the canning equipment. So this is it.
What about moving on up further, like in World War II and the 50s? Did blacks organized in groups in Muncie like NAACP?
Yes, you had the NAACP.
And very strong.
Well, it could have been stronger. But speaking out, most speaking out was done in church.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is one thing about even nowadays, your women have a different outlook on life, or they were quiet at that time. Now they come forth, and three-fourths of things may say being controlled by women.
Mm-hmm. Like the church really has played a part in black politics. You talk about the separation of church and state, but it's one key place where a lot of politicians, black politicians, got their start has been the church. Any particular names in the church who were instrumental in the early NAACP in Muncie that you know of or can recall?
Well, let me see. Your ministers have changed over the periods of time, but I think Reverend Adams was involved somewhere or another, even no more than publicizing through his paper. Now, Reverend E.O. Price was here back at that time, along with Union Baptist Church, and basically your ministers kept to the churches.
Mm-hmm.
This working out in the community on this angle is strictly a new nowadays preacher.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those ministers was just boys that are now leaders.
Were they? How effective are they though? Being, the idea is now reaching out that you're not able to keep your parishioners if you do not go out and reach out and take the church to the people. When did that, come about?
Well, even still yet.
They haven't reached that.
Some haven't reached it, and three-fourths of it is because they have not prepared themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I fault them for this. And you would like to see more, but with so many of the ministers having a second job, they kind of give this to the family rather than to the extra community business. And when you do give out to extra, like Reverend Oliver was here in the last 10 years, 10 years back, was an extra man that was involved with the community problem. In fact, he was so involved he had sit-ins. Mm-hmm. This is something about the beginning of, he was a Schaefer.
Mm-hmm. What particular problems have the ministers, have they been out demonstrating and carrying forth a message similar to Martin Luther King, or have they just been concerned mainly about the people within their own churches?
Well, I must say, I guess Reverend J.C. Williams would come under that particular leadership with the things he has tried to do.
Mm-hmm.
And there was Reverend Oliver before him. And, of course, Reverend Ross has been involved. I think he was president of ACP for a while.
It was Reverend Oliver.
He was at Schaefer.
At Schaefer. Mm-hmm. And who was this other one?
Broadus.
Broadus?
I believe he was a president at one time.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Reverend Mallory was involved in the community. He was here close to 18 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
But basically it's been a church, taking care of church's business and their convention life. And of course, as has always been said, Sunday is your greatest segregation day.
Yeah. If white people say, well, some of your greatest leaders come from the church, and if the church is just tending to
the religious angle,
how are they able to put that label on black churches?
Well, because there isn't that much business involved with the Negro. And if you're not in his kitchen, you're in the factory at the back level. So there isn't much speaking done there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that only leaves the church angle. Because your recreation was out in the alley or the side street deal. Basketball and your other games.
Mm-hmm.
And so where you had a park, they usually considered one side was the Negro side, and the other side was the white side, because the ballpark was on the other side, and they basically thought that was for the white side, where the big ballpark was at.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, everything has been kept on a separate basis, all the way down. Of course, there was no swimming, more or less, to speak of, besides Jackson Park, and that wasn't of too deep a nature. Of course, I never done swimming myself.
Well, okay, swimming. What about Toy Pool?
Well, that's a long story. To my knowledge, that's just been in recent years that Negroes were going there.
When was it first established? Any idea of the year?
No, I can't rightly say. I imagine in the 40s.
It was only, say, like up until about 62 before it was
opened up. Because they had the Jackson Park, which is where the Madison Street Y is at. And you either went there or you found a hole out to mock stone quarry and hoped you wouldn't get pushed in or not allowed to come back out alive.
Where is Toy, exact street of Toy?
Toy is between High Street Bridge and Washington Street Bridge on the Boulevard. That's over near McKinley Junior High.
Right over there by the bridge.
Yes.
What occupation do you have and your husband have at present?
Well, my husband works at Delco Anderson. And I'm basically a housewife. I do some church activities, typing, keep the church programs going.
What about political parties? You say you are a Republican. Are many of the people you know or blacks that you know, are they Republican or are they Democrat, and what kind of reasons do they give? The ones you know very well.
Politics is a thing that's hardly brought up in the different meetings I'm involved. It may, in election year, you may hear something, but basically it's just something you don't talk about.
You think the blacks are kind of apathetic and not really knowing that that's one way to change the situation is politics?
Well, in the last few years, you're noticing a change because there's been some digging in of the younger generation. And so this is what has brought about this. But I imagine in some of your places you would have more, say in barbershops, they have a lot of political discussions, and beauty parlors. Of course, you're not there every day. And once in a while, you may hear a discussion on the bus. But now, since everybody's traveling in their own direction in their own car, a lot of conversations don't come about unless you're at club or at church on Sunday or at choir rehearsal. So only in the political year do you hear much politics. And it's kind of discussed like your religious background. Also, my best friend are Methodist. You know, they'll say some of my best friends are Democrats, but just passing fantasy. Nothing that you could bring up a pretty big discussion about. In fact, politics is something like age. You say, well, you know you're involved with one year or the other, and you just don't take it for granted.
What about the black vote? Is it very influential in any major position, or could it be organized to influence decisions to gain better representation for the black race?
They have been educated in the last few votes of how to vote, and this had showed greatly with this last particular vote, where it says vote for 3, and they only push one button, and this was made known throughout a couple of districts that they voted for just their one man. And naturally, this would mean 2 down, 1 up every time you went. Where when you see 3, you don't have to vote for 3. Vote for your one man, and this is it. This way, you make sure you get your man in. So this education has had a way of getting around, and it was showing.
How do black people act? Some of the ones other black people say are uppity once they make it doctors, dentists, lawyers. No, it's not even lawyers, like lawyers. But are they in their own class, seem to be apart from the rest of the black people?
Well, I say you feel as though you may get a better home or you're able to have an extra change of clothes, you automatically feel better because you're dressing better or you're eating better. And you kind of put yourself off by yourself. And it's not that the other person does this. You don't mean to, say, separate yourself, but automatically you just do it.
Okay, he goes off, he achieves more, has a better lifestyle, but does he, after he does it, so the point is, after he does it, does he come back to the people? I mean, see, there is this thing we often hear, that black people are not like the Jews, or Jewish people, because they will not organize, will not help each other once you get to the top. Now, he will live that same lifestyle, but then he may come back and help. Now, what is the argument for the black man? How do you say, well, what's the difference there?
If I can do it, you can do it. And I did it, so you can do it. But the thing about it, you hate for anybody to be able to help you, then take off to another city, because I think the lights are brighter there. But you'll find the same problem anywhere you go.
So how's the black man in Muncie, once he reaches that so-called plateau or upper class, the label on the quote, whatever that means. I have, my ideas about, these labels people put on words, and who's who. But do they just stay up there and don't help the rest of the people, the forgotten people?
Some want to be anonymous helpers, and this has its own two-way street. But I've always said you're as strong as the weakest link in your family. If you got a brother hungry, that means you're half hungry. And your brother, basically speaking, is eating as well as you. You're not up there. You're still leaning and depending, hoping brother can catch up with you. But you'll go much further if you take someone up with you.
Are they seeing that?
Sometimes. But there seems to be always a drawback. And why each one can't want as much as the other, it is definitely an individual basis.
Are they channeling what they know to get to the top back to the people?
Well, there's a drawback there.
I think it could be more of that challenge.
There is a type of inward jealousy that kind of runs throughout a family tree line for more reasons than one. But if you would try to give each individual the same amount, hoping and pressing and desiring that he will use the same ability, although some may not go to the ladder to the top, they don't stay on the bottom round either. Everybody doesn't have to have a Cadillac to make a goal. The thing is, you want a car that will take you there and bring you back. So it doesn't have to be a Cadillac. It can be a Ford. Even if your desire is a bicycle, if that's your way of transportation, no one should fault you for that particular wanting. But it seems to be the goal in so many lives that a Cadillac spells success. And with another person, a son means success. Or one family have all daughters, but just have one son. So this is, each one's determination of success is different. It's not always in dollars and cents.
Then what about the opposite coin? White families, well-to-do, you might go to black people, say they go to teas, and white people having their teas, discussing to keep the black man down, or we had put on his head so many years that let's let it off, without us to know when he did the same thing to me. Well, how's white people in Muncie? Your contacts so far, are they smiling faces only when you're watching them, and then deceitful when you're turning your back? And how are the leading families, so-called, you might mention names of all some of these other people around town, how are they?
Well, I haven't been exactly shoulder to shoulder with some of the upper crust, but the few I have been with throughout, say, the period of the last 7 years, the various community projects I have been with, they have seemed to be very genuine.
Mm-hmm.
And this is good. Because without the good of the white race, there would have been much suffering, more so than there has been.
Mm-hmm.
There has always been good, and there always will be. We just hope for more.
Mm-hmm. Much more.
Much more, on both sides.
What issues is considered most important to blacks? What issues do they come together on mostly, or even not come together on? Because very diverse opinions on issues is good for just thinking. What do they find themselves most concerned about? Maybe you could even say then and now today. Back when your parents, you were a little girl, what was concerned about you in Muncie?
Well, in my particular area, a good name was always such a high thought, and to have good credit. Respect. Mm-hmm. And this has always been very foremost.
What happened to you as a person when you didn't get the respect you thought was due you?
Well, you kept trying.
But emotionally and mentally, did you have attitudes of inferiority, neglect, and self-concept that wasn't really high?
Well, this is an odd thing to classify, because when your life is more than just home and church, it would come in more than just one particular angle. Mm-hmm. Where you would have your school particulars and your church, and then your home, and then your work. Mm-hmm. So each one would have a different scale. Mm-hmm. But on the whole, you have to have a respect for yourself before you can be respected. Mm-hmm. And if you feel as though you're up among the top of the ladder, you'll feel this way, and then you'll carry yourself in this nature.
In other words, black people, and you're saying yourself in general because of your background, regardless of what people thought of you, you still had a self-concept of what you do. Right?
This was our family. Mm-hmm. You didn't, being with the church family, mm-hmm. Naturally the angles were always pointed towards you. Mm-hmm. And you had a certain way to go. Mm-hmm. And this is one of those things.
In other words, if your conditions is better than mine, that don't mean that you are a better person.
No.
From all this, what is black power? And this might be a question that you can think about. How does the outgoing affect Muncie, in the sense that you hear a lot of brothers say, right on, I wanted to know, some of them don't want to. What does that mean in the sense of word too? I mean, like your son, if you had one thing you want to tell him, that maybe your parents told you or didn't tell you, what would you probably say to him?
Always keep God in your plan, mm-hmm. And this will help you to be right on. Mm-hmm. He would balance all of the things that you would desire. And this should be in everybody's life. This should be a part of their life that has a religious angle that would keep them balanced.
This is a point, and most of the people I've talked to, religion has played a strong part in their life. And so far, I haven't talked to anybody who had been strongly religious or said that was their guide. But what of people who saying, well, they had to have something to believe in, they had to have something to trust in because they didn't have anything else? What if religion hadn't been there? Then what kind of got any kind of perspective on how things would have been then? Would we have been as loving to white people when they didn't love us? Loving them more than us? Trying to mimic them.
Well, a person with a well-fed stomach, properly food, will nourish the brain. And you can't discuss anything with a hungry person. And if his food is taking care of those problems, it softens the blow otherwise. Mm-hmm. and proper diet, not filtering your body with things of unpleasantness in the food line, will keep you balanced and with the proper food, and naturally this will make your environment better. But if you'll notice, a person who doesn't eat well, he doesn't think well. And along with religion, this proper diet. And
you said religion, in other words, has been a balance for blacks, and there's nothing else to depend on. It gave an equilibrium between, going off the edge of the ledge. In other words, it really was to help the white people too. That they didn't so many go off the ledge. Let's see. Unless you have anything else to add, that's about covers it for me.
your educational background for using your students that gave money to Ball State is just now beginning to be a big feedback here in Muncie. And this has always been a drawback. We lost a lot of our good people, educators, in early days.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad to see this being done about differently. Of course, some people, as soon as they are ready for the second round, want to get away from home. But with things made more pleasant and able to take care of all your needs, you won't have to go away from home. And this is one way to help by using what you have right here with where you have grown up.
You're saying that a lot of resources, black resources, are leaving town.
They did leave.
They did leave. Mm-hmm. And these were teachers.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Seems to be a low quota on black teachers here in Muncie today, even at the black schools. Until recently, they stepped up to hire them, but still far short of what is needed.
That's right.
Because black teachers seem, in all cases, to understand blacks, especially needs and problems, a little bit more insight into it. And then, of course, not all, I would say, most of those concerned.
Your businesses basically are barbershop, beauty parlors, your ministers, the few school teachers you have now. And of course, nowadays you have a new type. There's a few involved with carpeting, and you have a few constructors here now that you didn't have. You had some masons, but they did other jobs. Their basic job was a factory, and they would do some building on the side, like repairing their homes. But now, then you have electricians. A lot of new things are involved now because of this particular new day.
Mm-hmm.
But Muncie is still definitely short of lawyers. They've never had one, to my knowledge, in an office. Mm-hmm. And of course, now our doctor's situation is very poor. Mm-hmm. And we've got to do something about that. So there's a lot of room for first-class businessmen right here. Well, they can get plenty of business if we could just draw them here. If we can draw them here, maybe our children will be able to fill these spots before too long, hopefully. Of course, the few nurses that we've had, some we've lost, and some we'd still have. We have our first Negro nurse in the school system. And so there's always quite a few first. That's Miss Kaiser, Bernice Kaiser. She was honored last year as the first woman of the year. She was a nurse in the service and married with Muncie man.
What about I notice there's not many waitresses, black waitresses around. Has there ever been that the blacks want to do that particular kind of work, or did they think they were in the ladies' big house in their kitchen and want to be waiting on it?
Well, that's where I guess they basically are.
I can't think of many places. Many say like the Big Wheel until recently. Places like you go to these places like Bonanza. Are there many black waitresses? What happened to them? How does it feel?
Well, for myself, I eat out so seldom that it's some places I've never been in, period. I often think you will, but I don't eat out myself. Maybe once a year. That's a holiday occasion. So basically, when the food comes home, it's taken care of, prepared right here. But some families eat out 2 and 3, 4 times a week, every week, but not my family.
It ties over from like, say, even basketball, where black kids are forced to, sit in the car and eat and all this. Like, it's Muncie Central had heritage of black basketball players, real good teams. Do you know of any incidents or anything particular basketball players had to go through your knowledge?
Nothing of that nature. Not being a first-class follower, never had the money to, as a kid, to follow up the game, but I knew a lot of the players. Of yesteryear and today, too. But,
see, one reason I asked that is because a lot of white people like to take the credit that in sports is where they really help blacks, but still, even in that particular time, they were, still in the back
we'll
of the
take
car,
a sack lunch rather than have to eat out.
Right, yeah. What about, you said you didn't know about the social life, but was there any particular taverns, bars, open then? Did they have more then than they do now?
I guess there were
Bruno.
a first-class tavern. All I can remember was one that still is. That's at the corner of Highland and Macedonia.
Cotton Bud?
No, used to be Paydays. Highland Avenue Cafe, right across from the barbershop.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been a restaurant in front and a place to dance in the back. We had a barbershop on this side for years and years, and a shoe shine parlor.
Why is the blacks can't keep these businesses? There's not enough capital to keep them going, not enough customers to come in, or what's the problem?
Well, never patronizing one myself, but only as far as chili and hamburgers myself, I couldn't rightfully tell you why they don't stay open.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, there used to be so many fights,
mm-hmm.
and used to be someone going by the morgue every week or once a month, and that would discourage anybody. As a
mm-hmm.
kid, that would discourage me. But there was one on 7th Street for years and years, and there was another one somewhere in town, but I can't recall where it was.
Okay, fighting, I know in my own town, like the region, a lot of teenage places that close up with blacks would get together and they fight and be friends the next day and all that. I think that's one of the major reasons, along with financing, the way they were acting at that particular time.
As far as teenage places, there wasn't that much either. We used to have the Gypsy Tea Room, but that was open during the early 40s.
What was that?
That was where Reinhardt's barbershop is now. Mm-hmm. There was a home on one side, and
that's on Highland.
Highland. The proprietor of the Highland Cafe lived there. His wife ran this restaurant, and he ran the other part, basically as much as I can know about it. Then you had a few little restaurants, but basically, as far as Negro is, you had your barbecue places and quick restaurants. Mr. Roach, he's had his cafe for years. He used to be on 2nd Street across from the church. Then you had Arthur Logan's chicken place for years and years. But they sold dinners and those kind of things, where quick sandwiches or other type restaurants. But basically, your eating is done at home.
Let's see. Well, Miss Molly, I'd like to thank you a lot. I think we've covered a lot. We can end it right here, I suppose. Alrighty.